Yesterday was Uposita. That's the day every 2 weeks when the Sangha has to come together, have a big meeting. We recite the old monks' rules, and we have to confess to each other any of the offenses that we have, any times that we've broken monastic law. You see, the way it works in the Sangha is that there's no police, because we all believe in the law of karma. We don't need police. We're always watching ourselves and always making a commitment to changing ourselves, to be better every single day. So if we ever make a mistake, we don't try to hide it. What we do instead is our instinct is we want to tell somebody about it so that they can help us become a better person. So we have that meeting every 2 weeks. And it's one of the most important factors for keeping the sasana alive. This is what the Buddha taught in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, that the monks have to meet together regularly if the Sangha is going to not just decline or survive, but if it does that, then it can actually grow and flourish inside of the world. And of course, if the Sangha flourishes inside the world, then all the Buddhists inside the lay community also come to prosperity and success. Now, there's many principles that we can learn from what the Sangha does inside of its community life that we can apply to our own everyday lives as lay people, as people in families, trying to live happy lives in a very, very difficult and complex world. So the first thing to remember in family life as lay people is that actually you do need your families. So this is often forgotten, particularly by the young people these days, because they're taught at school, actually, that family isn't really important. What they're taught is being smart, studying a lot, going to a good university, and getting a nice job is important. Why? Because then you make money, right? And if you make money, if you've got a good salary, and we're guilty, right, as Chinese people, we always tell our children, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be a lawyer, I want you to be an accountant. Why? Because those professions are guaranteed to make money. People always get sick, people always need their accounts done, and people are always fighting, so they need lawyers as well. So that means that you're always going to have a job, and those jobs are pretty well paid. And then you're safe, because you've gotten money. But then what we actually find in life is that even when we have money, we can be very, very unhappy. And what we find in particular, if we become obsessed with just money and all the things that we need to do to get money, then our family life falls apart. We end up fighting with our children, fighting with our brothers and sisters. And then no matter how much money we have, we're always very unhappy on the inside. So, what can we do about this? Well, first thing again is to remember that family is really, really important. This is not an old-fashioned value. Yeah, this is akalika. It's a timeless value. Where does the word akalika come from? Every time we recollect the Dhamma, we say, swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko. So akaliko means timeless. Kala means time. Akalika means timeless. So it doesn't change. What the Buddha teaches us is universal principles, timeless principles that you can rely upon, no matter how much society changes. Isn't that a relief in this world where we constantly have to upgrade and update everything? It's like when we're at work, every 2 weeks there's a new software change, and there's a new training session, and everybody has to change all their habits and change all their learning to keep up with the computers. And now the computers are getting smarter than we are, aren't they? Yeah? You can actually have a chatbot about Buddhism now, even in early Buddhism. Norbu. We're responsible for that at SBS. And it gives really good answers, actually. It takes years for monks to learn the amount that Norbu has learned in a year, to come up with such clear answers. Doesn't get everything right, but monks don't get everything right as well. So, it's very, very stressful as a human being to have to upgrade all the time, because we're not like Norbu. We're not a chatbot. We're not artificial intelligence. We can't just change all the time. Yeah? where we've got these physical bodies, and every time we need to study, it actually hurts. That's why most people don't like to study. Your brain needs to rewire, and all the nerves in your back have to rewire. It's the same as going for a jog. Most people don't like doing exercise because you have to constantly change your body, and that hurts you. That's why we call it hard training, hard work. If it were just easy like it is for Norbu, for artificial intelligence, then we wouldn't say it's hard. So we've got limitations as human beings, as living beings, sentient beings. And we can't treat ourselves like robots. We can't treat ourselves like machines. And one of the eternal things that we know about human beings, we've learned it from the Buddha, and also we learn it just by looking at history, where it's Chinese history, Malaysian history, Australian history, it really doesn't matter, is we need our families. We can't live alone. And we need to live in stable social and cultural environments, things that don't change too much, for us to feel safe. If we don't feel safe on the inside, we don't feel happy. And if we don't feel happy, what's the point? No matter how much money we have, if we can't sleep at night and we're fighting with our brothers and our sisters, what's the point? We just have to pay more money to our psychologist, right? And pay for more drugs to help us forget that we're not happy. But it doesn't solve the problem. What we have to do is look very, very carefully at what the Buddha taught, the timeless principles about what we need to do together as human beings in order to make our groups happy and successful. Yeah? So whether it's our family in Sangha, so we monks, we actually have family. We leave our biological families behind, but we're permanently part of the Sangha. And actually the interactions that happen inside of Sangha life is much more intimate than anything that happens in normal family life. So that's why we Sangha members that live in good communities, we're very good people to give advice to you about how to live well inside your life, inside your family. Most people think it's the opposite, but when you find good monks, it's actually we've got really good social skills. So, the first thing that is difficult about living with other people is that we're all imperfect. And the older we get, the more we notice this. When we're children, life is quite easy because you're just stupid. You're too young to know anything really well. And so you can just assume that your parents are perfect. So you think your parents are gods. You think your parents can do everything. You think your parents never get unhappy, unless you're in a bad family. But if you're in a normal family, you don't notice all the times your parents get grumpy at each other. You don't notice the times your parents are tired. You don't notice when they get sick. Yeah? You don't notice when they feel vulnerable. You don't notice when they drive badly. But once you hit like 13 or 14, then your brain starts to change and your mind starts to wake up. You see more and more imperfection inside yourself, and you also see more and more imperfection inside your parents and then all the older people. So that's why around about 13, the children get very difficult to raise. They're difficult at school, they're difficult at home. Levels of respect drop away very, very quickly. Why? Because they're not taught these days how they can keep on loving and respecting their parents and their teachers even though they can see they're not perfect anymore. Yeah, the critical mind turns on, and then a whole lot of anger and resentment and hatred starts to build up because they're given no technique, no teaching about how to accept imperfection and to work with it. This is why we always want to be with machines these days, and we don't want to be with other human beings. In the West, I'm not sure how it is in Malaysia, but people are afraid of Christmas. Because Christmas is the time that Westerners are supposed to come together and meet their family. So I'm not sure how it is in Chinese culture these days. Maybe Chinese people are now becoming afraid of Chinese New Year. You have to go, and so the trains get full in China. You have to go back to your hometown, but maybe these days people aren't so happy about it. It was so different in the past. It was so different in the old world. People love Chinese New Year. People love Christmas because it was a time you get together with your family. Because it was the time that you could come back together with all those people you know very, very well. You know all their imperfections. And you still love them. And you know that they know your imperfections and they still love you. But these days, when we see other people's imperfections, we think, I need an upgrade. Yeah? So we divorce our wife or our husband and we upgrade to a better wife or a better husband. Yeah? Or we think we can get rid of our children as soon as we can, make them go to university, and then we can upgrade to the life that we wanted to live. Use the money we have, retire early, travel around the world. The problem is we don't think that people can change. We've got so much experience of trying to change ourselves and failing, right? We've got so much of experience of building up hopes in other people and being disappointed. And so there comes a stage where we just stop believing we can change. And so we can't accept imperfection. How can you accept imperfection if it can't get any better? Why bother working with anybody who's imperfect if you think that they're not going to get any better? So the natural thing is to think, well, I can upgrade the machine. I can buy better things with money. And so let me leave the human beings behind. Let me leave family behind. Let me leave Sangha behind. Let me live alone with my computer, my iPod. And then I can customize everything to the way that I like it. So the first thing you need if you want to live in a successful family and a happy family is faith. You need to have faith that human beings can change for the better. Yeah? So this is why it's great to be Buddhist. We're not Christians who believe that human beings are just bad. You're born into original sin, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just bad, and if you're Christian, God will forgive you, but you actually can't change. If you have faith in the Buddha and in the Buddha Dhamma, then you believe the Buddha's opinions about things and not your own opinions about things. Now, the Buddha said that you can change. And the Buddha said that anybody who trains in the Buddha Dhamma can change for the better. It doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're a mass murderer, like Angulimala. Yeah, we all know the story of Angulimala, the fellow who killed so many people that he had a big garland of fingers around his neck because he cut off the finger, the small finger of everyone he killed. And then he becomes a monk after meeting the Buddha. And then he trains in the Buddha Dhamma and he becomes an arahat, completely free of all greed, hatred, and delusion. We can change. Yeah? So you need to believe that you can change, and also you need to believe that your family can change and the people that you love can change. This is why it's really important to have Buddhist families. Because actually, the most effective tools for changing ourselves into better people are the Buddha's teachings. So we need to have a reason to live together. We need to have a common project. We need to have common beliefs, common methods. Because if we're just left up to our own, and we know this from our life, we just come up with our individual opinions about things, and nobody can get along. Everyone has, they say, I want to go left. The other one says, I want to go right. Your youngest son says, I want to watch channel 2. Your oldest son says, I want to watch channel 3. Can't even share the same TV. They have to watch their own programs on YouTube. So how can you get the same ideas about methods in life and goals in life? Well, you've got to have the same people that you respect. Right? So you've got to come together around the Buddha. And then you all have faith in the Buddha, then you'll all have the same faith and the same ideas, his Buddha Dhamma. But of course that starts usually not with books, but when you meet some really good Sangha members, somebody who really inspires you, and then you invite your friends and your family to meet them. And then they too gain hope that it is possible for people to change. Look at the Sangha, look at these ordinary people, they become monks. And they become beautiful people. So if they can do that, we can do that too. You must hold on to that faith as hard as you can. Don't let that go. Don't let go of everything. Yeah? You've got to hold on to the Dhamma. You've got to hold on to your faith. When you have the same ideas about life, then it doesn't matter if you're not perfect. Yeah? Then you can be loyal to each other. You don't have to leave each other just because you see each other making mistakes. You can love each other for those mistakes because then you've got common projects to work upon. And you don't have to hide your mistakes either. Everybody can go to everybody else and say, look, I'm not perfect, please help me. Yeah? And they can say to you, I'm not perfect, please help me. And how are we going to help each other? We're all going to use the Buddha's teachings. And when we see that authenticity in the desire to change for the better inside of ourselves, we can forgive ourselves. How much happiness comes from being able to forgive ourselves and not hate ourselves all the time. To feel that actually we're not perfect, but we're good enough. Because we're committed authentically to changing and we've got the tools for change. And how much happiness comes from being able to forgive other people. The ones that are so close to us, the ones that we want to love. But no matter how much we try, we find ourselves failing and failing. When we can see that they're committed to changing as well. So it doesn't matter if they fail, as long as they're authentic in changing. And we all have the faith and then gradually growing experience that the tools that the Buddha gave us to change actually work. So there's hope. Yeah? There's motivation. There's a reason to wake up every morning, meet your family, meet your friends, meet the people at your workplace and work together to become better people. And we don't have to be robots to do it. Yeah? The Buddha's teaching is all about how to be a beautiful, loving, forgiving, simple, honest human being. When we think about the way this world is going, that we're turning into robots and our children becoming robots, it doesn't inspire very much hope, does it? It brings up images of robots taking over everything and human beings just being wiped off the planet. But here we have the greatest technology in the universe, the Buddha's teachings. How lucky are we to live in an age where the Buddha's teachings are still alive and there's still good monks in this world who can teach it. Still good monks in this world who show to you, give you living examples that these teachings are real. So, please keep your families intact. Please make them strong. Please use your families to practice the Buddha Dhamma together. And let's keep the Buddha's teachings alive in this world for the sake of all living beings. That's my Dhamma talk for today.